Well, if you can believe it, it is almost the end of the year, and that means there's a few things that you might want to do in your ConnectWise PSA system to make sure that you're ready for next year. We're going to go through some of the things that ConnectWise suggests that you do, but stay tuned. In the second half of this video, I'm going to show you some that they don't recommend, but I do think that everyone should be looking at the end of the year. First up, you're going to want to update your time and expense periods. You will need admin access for this, or at least permission to do so. You're going to go into your system, setup tables, and we're looking for period here. You want this time period. And one thing I recommend is to have a different calendar for time than for expenses. So here we have the same calendar for time and expense. That's fine if your time and expense periods are exactly the same, but sometimes it's easier to have two separate ones. Within the time period, it's going to take you through a start and end date. So your existing one has an end date. This one is December 28th. And you just want to keep that in mind because we'll see what happens next. I'm going to go ahead and add a new item. I'm going to change this to time only. I'm going to say that the end of the first period is, let's see here. We'll say January 4th, that's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. If there is a gap, this is the warning, then they're going to try and fill in that gap, which makes sense because the last period ended on the 28th. So this one's starting on the 29th in 2024. That's all that means. It's nothing to be concerned about. And you really only want to do this once. If you try to do this multiple times, it does create some errors in your system. So make sure you have your period cycle, end of first period, everything set up before you come in here. If you're going to set them up as time and expense separately, your next step is to go in, set up your expense periods. Again, we're happy with that. Hit save, and you're good to go. So that covers setting up time and expense periods. And my best practice and recommendation is to set up time and expense separately. I don't know why this is 2026, so we'll show you what it looks like. This is for 2026. It automatically did that. That's not correct. I wanted to set it up for 2025, so I'm going to hit there and hit, I'm actually just going to delete this whole one. We'll do expenses now. So new, expense, we're going to change that year to 2025. And we're going to change this to 2025 as well. There we go. Now we'll hit save. And we have 2025. So that's a bit of a gotcha. When you do time and expense separately, you might run into that issue. Next up, we're going to do your calendar. So if we go into System, Setup Tables, and I'm going to type Calendar. We want your holidays. So we're going to make sure that your calendar is up to date, that your standard office hours are up to date. If these have changed, go ahead and change those. If you are now running maybe a 24-hour shift or something else is happening, you might want another calendar to go through that. You can get to the holidays through the setup table, or you can hit this link here, and that's going to bring you to the holidays. Within the standard holidays, you do need to set them up for the next year. So I'm going to click into the existing holidays. These are a little old, but the easiest way to update your holidays is once you're happy with that list, just copy, and we're going to put holiday 2025, hit OK. And now I have holidays 2025. I just need to go through and set up what those actually are. So if those are a little bit different, I would go through and update the correct day for each of those holidays. Perfect. So we've done all the time, expense, and holidays. Next up, this is something ConnectWise doesn't suggest, but this is something I really recommend you take a look at, your work role rates. So under System, Setup Tables, you have in your system a rate card. And these are all the common rates that you charge out on a time and materials basis. it's also the work role or whatever everyone in your organization is doing. What I see all the time is that these do not get updated. So these work roles tend to be out of date. They could be old. There could be too many here, which I see very frequently. The best practice is that every work role should tie to a job title or job description in your organization. So if you have people who are listed as cloud engineers in your organization, it makes sense to have a work role here for cloud engineer. The third part of that is, are their hours being quoted as cloud engineering hours? So you're really trying to find a match between three things. Does it get quoted to sales? Does someone in your organization identify as having that role? And is that role here and in the current rate? This can be updated by just going in, update your hourly rate, make sure that they're all here, and make sure that everyone in the organization is aware. If you have different rates for different locations, you'll need to identify those and update them in here as well. Similarly, we'll look at your work types just to make sure that they're still active, that they still make sense. Check all your multipliers to make sure that you're happy with those and that they haven't changed. For time and materials, this affects billing, so the work type will affect the rate and how it gets charged out. For fixed fee projects, work types are more informational, so it can tell us what type of work someone is doing, and we can do reporting on that to say, in your fixed fee, we see a lot more of this type versus the other type. That takes you through work roles and work types. One thing I don't love is that under the work role, you just have the rate, you don't have costs. So it is a great time to update your member costs. And those are under your system, members, member table. Every member should have a cost associated with them. And that's here under this hourly cost section. If you're not filling this out, if it's zero, chances are some of the out-of-the-box reporting you're doing from ConnectWise, especially when it comes to costing, is incorrect. So this hourly cost should be updated. Some people train and say that it needs to be unique to every individual and you need to determine exactly what their cost is. I tend to find that a little bit overkill. So what I recommend is to just enter the cost associated with this person's work role. So this person is a system engineer. I, as an organization, would pick a cost associated with a system engineer and put that in. That should be your fully burdened cost, or really however you want to report on it. It's going to take the actual number of hours, multiply it by this cost in the ConnectWise reporting that you see for profitability. So update those costs. Don't worry about updating them on a user level. Just update them based on that person's work role. Now we've done a lot of things in regards to time and expense, in regards to members, work roles, work rates, and types. And the last thing we're going to look at are your charge codes and manufacturers. In your system setup tables, I like to review charge codes on a yearly basis. Are these charge codes still relevant? Are they all being used? Is everyone just selecting admin? If so, maybe it's time to get rid of admin and force people to choose the right charge code. Then I like to go to my setup tables, manufacturers, and update any new manufacturers I might have had during the last year. This is kind of a weird place to update the manufacturers, but if you don't include them in this list, when you pass a quote over from CPQ cell, the manufacturer won't be populated. So the manufacturer has to get entered in here first to be able to come through that CPQ cell quote. Because of that, I like to make sure our manufacturers lists are up to date. That's it in regards to year-end procedures. Hopefully this video was helpful. I apologize if you're the person who has to do all this in your system, but if you run into any issues, just leave a comment below and I'll get back to you before the end of the year.